On this edition of Featured Artist, we welcome a former computer programmer and technical support guru who shares with us his passion for model building and all things railroad, Mr. Dave Arendes. Dave, welcome to this edition of Featured Artist.
Hey, Jerry, thanks for having me.
Now, full disclosure, I'm going to say that we have known each other for a long time. Our wives went to college together.
Yeah.
So there's a long history, and I always knew that you were into railroading, but I only recently found out that you were into structure building, model building, and painting and distressing, stuff like that. And I wanted to talk to you about that. But some folks might say that programming and computer support are a far cry from like model building, but I'm guessing that there are similarities.
There are a lot of things actually that are very similar. Basically, you have to think your way ahead on both of those and try and know where you're trying to go to.
Got it.
With computers, you have to know what you want to do, and with model building, it's sort of the same thing.
Okay, so you really have to plan ahead. Now, are these built from scratch, or do you use blueprints? Do you design your own? How does that work?
It's a little of all of the above. I build from kits a lot of times because they have things that I like. On other things, it's scratch built because there is no kit for what I want to build. I started a while back. I read a magazine called Narrow Gauge and Short Line Gazette. And for the last couple of years, they have a section about every month that they have a plans for a building in Bodie, California. And I've started building things from Bodie.
Wow. Okay. Now, do you ever work from like photographs, or just do you find a building that you like and you want to recreate it?
That also. You go from photographs and you sort of scale from the photograph. Window sizes and door sizes are pretty much standard. And from that, you can get the basic measurements. And you build from that.
Right. Right. So yeah, I didn't even think about that. But if you know a door width, you can multiply that out to get the width and also door height. You can get the height of
almost
the
all
building
the doors
approximately as well. Anyway. Right. Yeah. That's it. That makes sense. But I'm kind of curious. What drew you to model building in the first place? I mean, I guess where did you find your inspirations for that?
I guess it's since I was a little kid. I've always been intrigued by cars and trains and planes and ships. So I've always been like building models since I was a kid.
Okay.
And it just sort of grown.
Got it. I would imagine it's somewhat therapeutic, or can it just be downright frustrating?
Yeah, it can be very frustrating. There are times you want to throw things against the wall. We've only done that a few times.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I worked with, at Disney, I worked with a lot of model builders at Imagineering, because they would always build models of what it was that, they were going to eventually make full scale. So I have a great appreciation for that, but I've seen the frustration, especially if something gets built and they do a great job and then the whole show gets scrapped. I've seen that frustration. Any particular people that perhaps influenced you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my mother, from when I was a kid, helped, did not throw impediments in the way.
Okay.
And my wife also has been very good about it. But I guess my real inspiration when I was a kid, there was a gentleman named John Allen, who was a model railroader.
Mm.
And back in, 1948 or whatever, uh, did wonderful photographs of models. They looked realistic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Uh, Back then, generally, if you built a model, it looked like it came out of the factory. It was almost like a toy because it was nice and shiny and glossy.
Yeah.
And even if it had all the details, it looked clean.
Right.
John, his models looked dirty. They looked used.
They looked real.
Yeah, and it was just a wonderful inspiration because it looked so real.
Yeah.
He did photographs for a lot of manufacturers and dirtied up the models and put it on his model railroad.
Right.
And they were just so realistic that it was just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done my fair share of model photography, and a great model in a situation well lit is really difficult. You have to look twice or three times to say, is that the real thing? Or is it, is it a recreation? So good model builder would be able to do that.
Professional photographer.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds that way. Now, there's also an organization, National Model
Railroad Association.
Right. And that supports and sort of promotes model railroading worldwide. How involved are you with that particular association?
I'm a member and go to our conventions, our regional conventions especially, all the time.
Yeah.
I also give clinics and go to clinics on how to model and various things.
I didn't know that. Wow, no kidding. So you hold classes as well on how to do this?
Yes.
How cool is that? Do they have like I'm assuming they have competitions for structures and things.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Win any?
And I'm happy to say that one of my cabooses won Best of Show.
Oh, nice.
A couple of years ago.
Oh, that's nice. So it's something. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the models that it looks wonderful, but I've never run it on a train because I'm afraid to break it.
Oh. I mean, but that kind of thing has been going strong for like 100 years. I mean, model railroading, because I mean, I remember, no, I'm not 100 years old, but I remember having model trains when I was a kid, and I know it came, before that. What do you think in this age of kind of like micro cell phone technology and online gaming, what do you think keeps this going?
What keeps it going?
Yeah, what keeps model railroading and model building going on in such a highly technological age?
Well, it's becoming highly technical. There's things like 3D printing and laser cutting and whatever that is keeping up with the technology. That some of the things that can be produced now are just totally amazing.
Got it. So it's embraced all this technology.
Oh yes, but what has happened? There are more ways to do things than there ever before. New materials. The technology has changed, and model railroading also has changed.
Yeah.
Also, the younger people have different interests. I mean, most kids now have never seen a steam locomotive really working.
Right, right, very true.
And I'm being old enough to remember them actually, going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our interests are different.
I remember my dad taking me to Union Station in Los Angeles. We'd go down there for breakfast and then go out and watch the trains. And I have a bare recollection of steam trains, mostly diesel, But that was always, I mean, that was always very exciting. So the electronic aspects of this, I guess that means, I mean, I automatically go back to sitting on the floor or sitting at a layout, and you've got the throttle in hand, from the transformer, and you're making the trains go through, the areas that you've reconstructed.
Right.
But I'm guessing, so a lot of that might be now like app technology and cell phones, or you can control stuff on the screen.
You can now control a model train through a technology called digital command control from a cell phone.
Oh, yeah, okay. Wow.
What has happened now is that they send an electronic signal through the track,
yeah,
which is addressed to a particular locomotive. So you can, rather than just, turning on a direct current, it is a signal home to a particular locomotive.
So is that Bluetooth technology that it does? It's a Wi-Fi thing?
Well, it can use actually Bluetooth or Wi-Fi.
Wow.
It's just a method of transmission.
Oh, man. Well, I'll never look. I won't look at it again the same way. I really, I can't look at it. And I guess it makes perfect sense because of all those advances. Computer control, digital animation. I would imagine you could also do well, I guess the signals still turn based on where the train's location is. What other types of animation might there be?
There's quite a bit. With different processors like the Arduino processor, you can control signals, make lights flash, make signals go up and down, crossing gates,
yeah,
sound bells.
I love it.
You can go program lots of things just with an Arduino.
And then just let it run.
Yes.
Wow. Now, when you create a structure, what's the end result you're looking for? Are you looking, explain a little bit about what it is you're actually looking for. And do you happen to have anything you can show us while you're telling us?
Yes. One of the things that I've created, one of my loves is a railroad from Nevada called the Virginia and Truckee,
right.
Which ran from 1868 and first trains running in 1869 up until 1950, and was actually restarted back by a gentleman by the name of Bob Gray in 1976, I believe. And the VNT ran through Nevada from Virginia City basically to Reno. And one of the towns there was a place called Mound House. And I have rebuilt a station that was the Mound House Depot.
I'm looking at that. Wow.
And this station was actually torn down in 1938. But there were a lot of photographs, and I built a recreation of it.
Got it. So this is from, you built that recreation from photographs?
Well, actually, there was a set of plans in the narrow gauge and short line Gazette,
I see.
Which saves a lot of time. But you still look at photographs because you build from the photograph.
Right, as reference. Do you cut out your own pieces? Do you use laser cutting, or how do you
for that, I actually use a scrapbooking tool called a Cricut, which can cut basswood, and it's much more accurate than I can do by hand.
Oh, interesting. That's readily available.
Yes. Wow. I call it a poor man's laser because it's cheaper than a laser.
That's
but
good.
Actually, it's more useful for more things than I ever thought it would be. So my daughter gave it to me for a birthday present, and been using it ever since.
So again, getting back to what you actually looking for in terms of detail, let's dig into that just a little bit.
Yeah. For example, one of my favorites, I'll show you a building here. This is a model of a building that's in Bodie, California.
Uh-huh.
And it was the Mackenzie Brewery. And I thought it was an interesting looking building, and decided I wanted to build a model of it.
Yeah, that's sweet. That is really nice. I like it. It looks like you've got like water stains on the side and, you know,
Yes,
things that way.
I enjoy doing weathering. It makes things look realistic.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
from Bodie, most of the photographs that you get right now are buildings that have been abandoned for 70 years or 80 years. So
right.
So I'm trying to take it back a little bit before it was totally gone.
Got it. So you based on what you're seeing, you can actually like a little bit reduce the distressing a little bit to make it look a little bit fresher. Now, is this one of the buildings you would have on? Do you have a layout, by the way?
I don't have a layout per se. I am a member of a modular group, so I have a couple of sections of the layout.
Got it. Okay.
Do you have anything we can have a track?
Oh, anything we can have a look at?
They're in a storage locker right now.
Okay. No, yeah, that's fine. So again, I guess just one other thing. Describe a method that you might use to weather or distress a building.
Okay. Actually, it goes pretty soon when you start with the building. I will cut out a wall and cut the openings for the windows and doors, and then take basically a brass brush and rub the wood with the grain to distress it.
Got it.
To make it look weathered. And then I stain it with a stain of India ink to darken the wood.
Oh, right.
And then for painting, I normally use a dry brushing technique where you put some paint on the brush and then you basically take most of it off, and then you can scrub the building so it does not have a nice, smooth, fresh coat of paint.
Yeah.
And so I let the dark show through from the stain. And you just sort of take your time with that.
Yeah.
And then for like the windows, I tend to paint that sort of a base color of what I'm trying to go for, and then take sponges and put weathering, a very thin wash of paint on top of the original color. So you're mixing different shades and washes to achieve a look that it's weathered.
Got it. Yeah, interesting. Now, do you have a place online where people can see your photos? We're talking with Dave Arendes, who is a model builder, trade enthusiast. Do you have a place online?
No, I really don't. I have some pictures on Facebook, and some of my stuff is on my Model Railroad website, from my Model Railroad Club.
Okay, and how could people have a look at that if they want to see their work?
It's trainweb.org/OCMR, Orange County Modular Railroader.
Okay, all right, great, and we'll make sure and post that as well. What keeps you? What keeps you doing this? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. What is it that draws you back? What is it that keeps driving you to continue to do this?
It's fun. That's
Okay,
I
that's
enjoy it.
you don't need anything else than that. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I also volunteer at the Southern California Railroad Museum.
Oh,
I've
right.
been I've as an engineer, a brakeman, a conductor, and playing with the big stuff is fun too. I
Oh, I'll
can
bet.
actually see that, but you can't pick it up to put it away.
Yeah, wait, yeah, that's true. Is that the same as the Orange Empire Museum?
Yes, the to protect the innocent, the name has become more generic, which is
Oh,
the Southern California Railroad Museum.
got it.
We've always had that name with doing business as the Orange Empire Railway
Yeah,
Museum.
yeah, that's what I kind of remember it as that. So that it's just fun, but I mean, people try stuff and they put it down. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like you expect it to look. I mean, I have to tell you that most things that I set out to create don't necessarily look like what it is that I started out with.
Right.
What do you think? Is there a fear? Is there a fear associated with trying something new? Where do you think that comes from?
Everybody's afraid to fail. I think that's the so because of that, people are afraid to try things. With modeling, especially with weathering, you're afraid. Gee, I bought a $300 engine or a $400 engine. I'm afraid I'm going to ruin it. Well, I can understand that.
Sure.
But you try on things like basically trash. You have models that you're ready to throw away, or that you've got were given to you years ago, or whatever,
Yeah.
that have no particular meaning to you and no particular value. Start with that. You can go to a swap meet and get 10 cars for $5 or something sometimes. And
right. So cheap canvas, basically.
Yeah, a cheap canvas.
Yeah.
And play with it.
And I guess
you'd be surprised how easy it is to actually have some decent results if you just try.
right. And if you don't like the look, how difficult is it to change, or should it just be cheap enough where you can say, nope, throwing that away, let's try something else? What do you think?
Well, with a lot of things, you can just, if it's really bad, you can repaint it.
Just paint over.
And I have done that. I have tried to. I had a model that I was going to enter in a contest, and I was just going to give it a quick light weathering. And of course, when I tried to spray it, it was very quickly soaked with a very thick white paint. And that was one that I was ready to throw against the wall.
Yeah.
And of course, anything I tried to do to improve it made it 10 times worse.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
exactly.
I ended up stripping the paint off and trying again. It did not make it to the contest that year, but it came out fine the second try.
Yeah. So I'm getting the idea that you really don't just ever walk away from a project. Is that safe to say, or have you ever done that?
There are times you have to walk away. There are times when things just don't go right. Just put it down, walk away, do something else, come back tomorrow or next week or next month sometimes even and gee, you'd be surprised if you have a different mindset, and usually things start working. You have to get away from it sometimes.
Yeah, you just have to basically step away from the model.
With anything in life.
I guess so. But I am getting that the bottom line here is just to get some joy of creating something new and have fun.
Yeah, that's if you don't enjoy it, why would you even want to do it? Uh, find things that you like. I mean, there are a lot of people that have no interest in trains, and gee, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
enjoy building models or cars or armor or whatever, aircraft,
Yeah.
ships. So, gee, you can create all kinds of things and enjoy it.
So is it like, I was going to ask you a question now. So is it like just the joy of creating something? No, we've already talked about that. Um, Shoot, I was going to ask you a question now, and I can't remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, anyway, so Dave, do you have any kind of closing thoughts for folks who are maybe interested in model building or model railroading? Any referrals or just kind of your experience?
If you're interested, go get a couple of magazines or books about it, um, and go out, try it. Uh, there are, hobby shops or whatever, uh, and you can, get into almost any hobby at a reasonable price, and just go do it. Give it a try.
Dave Arendes, thank you so much for spending some time with us today on Featured Artist. Really a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. I really enjoyed it.